Hey guys, what's up? Sorry it's been a week or so since my last upload. Stuff's been pretty busy, but we're going to continue on in the Let's Run a Tournament. Yeah, that's what it's called series. And we're going to talk about how to handle running a bracket, like being assertive and making sure stuff gets done the way you want it to get done, and how to go about fixing mistakes when they happen with your tournaments. And then we should have one more video after this. Anyway, so it's very important to be able to enforce everything at your tournament when you need people to get on setups, when you need people to get off setups, when you need people to listen to you. If a room's being very loud and people aren't listening, so you don't have 4 people coming up being like, what station did you call me on? Did you call me? Where am I in bracket? Can I see the bracket? And if people don't listen to you, your tournament's going to run really slow or very poorly, or both. And you can't be over assertive. I think that needs to be stated first, because if people feel like they're just coming to your tournament to get yelled at, they're not really going to want to return. But you have to understand that sometimes you need to be loud. If you're in a room, everyone's talking, everyone's playing friendlies, it's time to start bracket, people aren't listening to announcements or something, you can be like, hey guys, very loudly. Like, you can say shut up if you want. I'm not being like, oh, shut up's a bad word, but like, it is a little aggressive. Or like, you can be like, hey, I need your attention. You don't have to be like, shut up. Or at my tournament, it's kind of a joke at me like screaming at people. It's like, hey, everybody, shut up, get off, quit your friendlies. Like, I will hunt down people playing friendly. And that's okay. You can have it become sort of a joke so people are kind of okay with it, but it's important to not overdo it, because some people might get like frightened if you're up in their face yelling or being like too loud. But also, you can't undersell it, because if people don't listen to you, again, what I mentioned earlier is you're not going to get stuff done. So it takes a little bit of practice finding the right balance if people aren't listening to you, but also where you should be like, yo, I need to like step back and calm down. And like going and being, hey, go play over here, or telling someone something, like someone's probably going to disagree with you. You'd be like, no, you didn't tell me that. It's okay. Put up with it. Fix whatever was wrong with that situation and move on from there. Like, I had a situation that like literally 2 days ago where I called 2 matches and they got swapped. So people came reported scores that these 2 people won, but they had played each other. So I was like, okay, who actually won? Like, one of you is lying. And they're like, we didn't play each other. So I had to refix the matches so that people actually played the right ones. And one of them was like, no, you definitely called me to this setup. Like, I didn't go to the wrong one. And it's like, well, either you or your opponent did. Like, 2 people had to. You have to be like, look, I don't care how it happened. You're going to play another set. Your first one didn't matter. The guy was trying to tell me, why can't you just swap the names? I couldn't, because of regional conflict for the next round of the assumed winners. Someone would have fought their carpool. And I was like, dude, look, I'm sorry you don't get it. Go play your first round again. At the end of the day, it sucked that it happened, and I believe that it wasn't my fault that the people went to the wrong stations. I'm pretty confident that I called them to the right stations. I just need to get it fixed. Tell them, look, you got to do this if you want to keep playing, and move on. And something also about being assertive is wherever you're setting up your like TO desk, if you're just on a laptop or like a corner of a room, if people are distracting you and like you have like 3 people having a conversation literally in front of your desk while you're running a tournament, tell them to move. I had multiple occasions just this weekend where someone comes up, they start talking about their match, they're now like off topic, and I'm like, guys, take the conversation somewhere else. Like, it doesn't matter if it is 5 feet to the side, but I can't have matches reported. Like, I can't have this because people are having trouble getting to me, and you need to have your TO desk like open. So not only people can get there easily, but it's somewhere open if someone needs to talk to the TO, or like, hey, I have a question, or I don't know where I got called. And be okay with people not hearing you. It's gonna happen. It will happen every tournament. Like, did you call me? What station did you call me on? Who am I fighting? Can you pull down bracket if you have it on a projector? Like, whatever. Anyway, let's move on to fixing mistakes, because this is actually probably one of the most important aspects of being a TO, is how this section of tournaments is handled. And look, mistakes are gonna happen. You can't get down after a tournament or 1 or 2 tournaments or in the middle of a tournament. It's like, man, I'm having these issues. This really sucks. Like, I just want this to stop. You have to continue being very positive and being like, I'm still going to have this run really well. I can fix these issues. I can move forward. Make sure if you're having issues with tournaments or with tournaments you're running, after a tournament, figure out what you did or what went wrong and what you can fix with it. And before your next tournament, like day of or day before, think about what went wrong last tournament and what can you do to avoid it. Not this most recent one, but the one behind or a month ago. I had a tournament where the AC was a big problem and everyone was sweating. It was like 85 or 90 in the building. It probably wasn't 90, but anyway, super hot. And a lot of people complained. They were like, it really sucked. I really don't want to come back if that's going to happen. And where my venue is, it's a school building, so we don't really have that much control. But what we did is we talked to the janitors and we were like, hey, can you make sure that the AC is on and maybe like 1 or 2 degrees lower than usual? And I have to hope for the best on that, but I made sure that we handled that issue as much as I possibly could before the next tournament, because if it happened twice in a row, people would not be coming back. because everyone who came to this tournament who also came to the last one will remember, oh, that was a problem, but they fixed it. Like, he's listening to our complaints and making sure they don't happen again. A sign of a good TO isn't the number of issues you have, but how you fix them and how you handle them when they come up to you. And I'm not saying, oh, you have a TO like Bear and he's going to have 200 issues every tournament. There's nothing he can do to stop it. He's obviously going to have less, but every tournament has its issues 99% of the time, and you can handle them and move forward. And sometimes they're going to be pretty bad and it's going to get some people upset, but it really won't turn off the main amount of attendees unless it like happens twice. So as long as you do your best to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again, you're going to be in a pretty okay spot. And like I said, some things, they're just going to happen. People are going to forget about the small things if it's like it gets fixed. Like they're like, I haven't been called, like you called all the rest of this round and you started moving on. You didn't call me. And I'm like, oh, sorry, next setup, like you are on 110%. Just doing little stuff like that to make sure the person who gets wronged is immediately helped can make them completely forget about what happened. I've mentioned this a couple times, but I want to harp on it a lot, is don't have mistakes happen twice, at least twice in a row. Because I mentioned with the venue, the air conditioning, if it had been out this time, my tournament attendance would drop from here forward completely, because no one's going to be like, oh, we complained about it. They had a month to be able to fix this issue and it didn't happen, unless they switch venues or show that they have direct control of it. I don't really want to go again, no matter how good the tournament is ran. If there's a big enough problem and you show that you can't fix it once, people aren't going to want to believe that you can ever fix it. Also, if you fix an issue, that was like a pretty big one. Not only do you have the plus of it's not an issue anymore, is people will remember. Like, people will commend you like, oh, you listened to us. It's cool. Like, I had multiple people say like, oh, it's cool that you guys contacted the janitors. That was something I really wanted fixed and was worried about happening, but you showed that you put in the effort. And it's kind of like a plus for your tournament. Now, I'm not saying like sabotage your own tournament to then look better in the long run, because if you can just run a flawless tournament every time, you take that 110%. Lastly is crafting the solution out for every situation to help. Also, another thing, touched a little bit on before, is make sure you're helping the people who are wrong the most immediately so that they can leave happy. Not only because it's your duty kind of as a TO to help the people to make sure that they have a good time, because it is your event and you're not running this to have people come and have things wrong, because then you're just wasting their time with promises of like empty stuff. But help them out immediately. There's this thing like saying in retail where 10 good customers equates to 1 bad one. People are much more likely word of mouth to talk about something in a negative manner than they are in a good manner, because if something goes really well, it's just run of the mill. Yeah, tournament was good, fine, like I didn't have any problems with it. But if something was bad, it's like, oh my god, I just went to this tournament, there was no AC, it was like hot, since the bracket was really huge, like I had to be playing for 2 hours and I was sweating my ass off, sort of thing. You have to do whatever you can to make sure everyone's leaving happy. And it's tough, and a lot of mistakes are going to happen, and you're going to have a couple happen like back to back to back, and it's like you're going to have matches to report, but there's this problem you need to fix, and now something else is coming up, and maybe if you entered, you're supposed to be playing now because you're going to start holding a bracket. Take things one step at a time. It's super crucial that you just slow everything down, and it's handle this issue, like talk to this one person, get it all fixed, and move them out. Handle it, get all the information you need. Make sure that score is reported correctly. If you need to tell them any more information, like your match is coming up soon, or you've got a long break, or hey, are you ready to play again? I'm about to call you again. Second you're done with them, move them out of the way, move on to the next thing. Don't get constantly distracted by tons of little things, because it'll all build up, and every single little aspect is going to become something so much bigger, and everything comes tumbling down in the end, because you're having a problem with the setup being laggy, and you're like, I don't really want to address it. But then like another person complains, and then a third person complains, and now you're trying to fix this. You're not having time to run bracket because you didn't immediately just be like, hey, here's the solution, go switch out like the adapters. Let me go check it immediately, get it fixed, so that you're not being pulled away when it's a very high stakes match and someone is like, look, I'm not playing on this, I can't do this, you need to check this if you really want me to play on this. Because now your bracket might start to get run behind. Not only is the match being postponed that you're having to check on, if you're not having someone else calling matches or someone's not doing it as well as they should be, now that part of bracket is behind while you're also still dealing with this laggy setup. And now you have matches being reported in while you're trying to handle these two things, to call new matches on the setups people are leaving, getting their reports in, and still fixing that issue. I know it sounds like a lot of rambling, but that's kind of how it is. It's like everything's coming back in a cycle. Like you start to fix something and there's something else. And it's not always going to be out like that. A lot of tournaments, you're just going to have a lot of downtime just sitting at a desk if you're not entering or just chatting with people at the TO desk. Handle something, make your decision, and stick by it. I'm not saying someone complains, it's a laggy setup, being like, nah, it's fine. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, because someone sounded like maybe unsure if it was laggy. And then like 3 more people come and tell you, and you're like, nah, I've decided like it's not laggy. Like at that point, honestly, for laggy setups, tip here, 2 people complain, it has to be fixed 110%, because there will be people who complain about some setups and you can go test it. And there are a lot of times where like if you have like 4 or 5 people complaining about different setups, like you can't just go your personal self, like sit down, test, okay, you know, it might be laggy, I don't know, test the next one. Now there's tons of other things being held up, but the second 2 people say something, like if 2 people complain about a same issue with a problem on a setup, needs to be fixed. Like it is top priority. Don't let more sets happen on that setup, because at that point you're putting a clear disadvantage to whoever happens to get put on that setup, and it can really change results. But yeah, so I think that's mostly it. Like, mistakes they're gonna happen. Fix them as quickly as you can and like move on and just keep going and be assertive, but don't overdo it, but don't underdo it. You can find it might take some time to find the line, but you'll find it where it's really comfortable and you're not scaring them. So I think that's it for this one. And we're going to have one more, I believe, and then we'll be done with this series. And I think I'm going to move on to talking about doubles. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see you all in the next one.